first, there's a lot of problems in the world right now, and like many of you, I often lie awake at night thinking, is there anyone who can save us? Is there a man or a woman who can lead us out of our despair and into a prosperous future? And oftentimes I think it's futile, and then I remember we still have celebrities. And I think as long as we've got celebrities, we've got hope. For instance, all of you ladies at home, you'll well remember how inspired you were in 2015 when Meghan Markle, addressing the United Nations, said, "It's true, women can do anything." Of course, it helps if you marry a prince.
We cannot implement change effectively without women's political participation. It is said that girls with dreams become women with vision.
Now for a real celebrity, Leonardo DiCaprio. Who doesn't know this man's name? Well, in 2014, the UN made him a Messenger of Peace. I kid you not, that is his title, for his work on combating climate change. Here was his address to the UN Council at the time as he received this great honour.
As a UN Messenger of Peace, I have traveled all over the world for the last 2 years documenting how this crisis is changing the natural balance of our planet. All that I have seen and learned on my journey has absolutely terrified me. There is no doubt in the world scientific community that this is a direct result of human activity and the effects of climate change will become astronomically worse in the future.
So terrified that 8 years later, check out this headline. Here he is being caught out because he may be terrified, but this man has the conviction of a dead salamander because here he is 8 years later still travelling around on gas-guzzling private jets, yachts, while funding climate nuisance lawsuits. This guy literally started our foundation where he gives these grants to private law firms who monitor oil companies and tries to make sure that they know that they're responsible for climate change. And here he is. I'm like, buddy, supply and demand. You're using their oil, quite a lot of it, so they're going to keep supplying it.
Well, you know, these celebrities have got to get around, right? Who can blame them for burning all that fuel to fly on their private jets? Wouldn't want to deal with the great unwashed, would you? But look, we need some real razzmatazz here. Now, I know some of you at home are probably not great fans of K-pop. You probably haven't even heard of K-pop. Korean pop, that's what the K stands for. This massive band in Korea called BTS. A lot of the kids are into it. Now, of course, if you want someone to talk to the UN about climate change and inequality and poverty, who better to call in than a boy band from Korea? And that's exactly what they did. And they didn't miss the opportunity while they were there to film a music video in the UN Grand Hall. Oh my God. I mean, could you think of anything better for the kids, anything more enticing for the kids than a boy band dancing in the UN Grand Hall? But we've given you the history now. We've got an update, haven't we, James?
Well, Cate Blanchett, best known as the Elf Queen in Lord of the Rings, but she's also the United Nations Special Ambassador for Refugees, and she's got some advice for the world. Speaking to the European Union leaders, she said that they need to disregard Australia's failed and discredited asylum seeker policies. You know, those ones that stopped the boats. She said, as an Australian,
saved thousands of lives.
As a sometime Australian, she is deeply ashamed and regrets those policies because they caused enormous psychological harm. Personally, I thought that was her performance in Indiana Jones 4. But no, it was Australia's asylum seeker policies. Here she is lecturing leaders at the United Nations.
Now, as an Australian, I can tell you that we learnt the hard way. The devastating physical and mental torment the refugees experienced whilst being corralled offshore. May I say, the resultant shame and regret that many of my fellow Australians feel now surrounding these ineffective and inhumane policies.
Shame and regret. Hashtag Stop the Boats was literally the code to our Wi-Fi for years. And everyone who came over our house and was like, what's the Wi-Fi password? My brother would be like, stop the boats. And they'd laugh and he'd be like, capital S. Anyway,
stop the freeloaders to stop people getting into your Wi-Fi. You know?
I know, we loved it. Stop the boats, stop the boats. Thank you, Tony. And of course, it's amazing that she's still talking down to us from her great pedestal of fame and money, where she's been for a very long time, very celebrated Aussie actress, because it was only a few months ago she was also giving us her advice on how we should vote on changing our constitution.
There's this incredible opportunity to embrace our unique history, shared history. With all of its missteps and all of its successes, to actually evolve into a really modern democracy, like New Zealand, like Canada. It'll be a sad moment if we miss this opportunity. We don't want to look back. You think, women only achieved suffrage 120 years ago, and at that time when that vote was happening, change felt terrible.
To evolve like New Zealand, like Canada. You're talking about countries that are so left-leaning, we look at them and shudder. She's like, oh, if only we could evolve like they have. Yeah, by racially discriminating against a certain percentage of Australians for as long as our constitution shall live. I don't think so. Glad we voted it down. But maybe that explains why she did look so sad at the UN.
New Zealand, of
because
course.
she said she would be sad.
She's so terribly sad that she probably flew there on a private jet. I don't know if she actually did, but I'd put nothing past her. And of course, New Zealand just chucked out the former Ardern government, then the Hipkins government, because they've seen what happened with all the nonsense that went on over there. But I'm just going to say, I want celebrities to keep talking, because every time they open their damn mouths, it turns people off whatever the hell they're talking about. Like they are the secret weapon for our cause. We should invite them to talk about these things all the time. Kate, if you want to come and talk on the Late Debate, I have a berth here for you. You can come and do it. You can pick any topic you want, and we'll give you 10 minutes, because I know by the end of that 10 minutes, everyone will have been throwing tomatoes at their television, and they'll be desperate to hear from us. All they do is turn people off.
A couple of things on this. Firstly, when she said we want to evolve to become like New Zealand or Canada, I think she meant devolve was the word she was looking for.
It was a verbal typo.
This is the advantage of being a celebrity, right? You get to champion causes that you yourself are insulated from. So she tells leaders at, it was the European Union, I think I said United Nations, it was the EU. She tells them, don't worry about borders, just embrace refugees. And that's why she's having a special open day for migrants at her sprawling Kent estate in the UK. No, she's not. That's a walled estate. And so she gets to pontificate, and it's the lower classes who will have to deal with the consequences of her self-righteousness. She never has to deal with these real-world issues. She just gets to sound righteous.